I am David Levy, the Vice President of Marketing at Foresight, the leading AI-enabled project management platform for major and mega projects. I'll be moderating today. We are excited about today's topic, best practices in how to accelerate your major construction project delivery with AI. Our featured speakers today are Tom Smedley, Foresight's Chief Revenue Officer, and Patrick DeBrail, PTAG's Project Systems Practice Lead. Patrick has over a decade of experience in heavy industries, specializing in project services and project management. A staunch advocate for technological innovation, Patrick has led the integration of AI-driven tools like Foresight to enhance schedule risk and quality assessment in project management. His expertise lies in leveraging cutting-edge technologies to improve project execution and deliver superior outcomes. Tom has over 15 years experience working at high-growth software companies targeting the real estate and construction sectors. He's a big believer that companies in these industries can grow their businesses, reduce costs, streamline operations, and improve customer satisfaction with data-driven solutions. He is passionate about showing owners and contractors of major construction projects how they can complete projects on time with modern AI tools. So with the introductions out of the way, why don't you take it away, Patrick?
Sure. Thanks, David. That was a great introduction. Like David said, my name is Patrick DeBrail, practice lead for the project systems at PTAG Inc. We're a leading firm in the industrial infrastructure industries, providing capital project services and advisory support. I've been leading our project systems practice for 5 years now, and in my role, I get the fun job to evaluate and use as many project systems as I can to recommend to our clients and to recommend to our team to actually execute and use on. Foresight really has been the most exciting tool I've seen in the last few years. I'm delighted to be here today as an expert partner of Foresight and to share with you our experiences of using the platform and the benefits we've been able to bring to our practice. We've been working with Foresight for about a year now, and we're impressed by the team and the tool itself. We see Foresight as a powerful tool that enhances our ability to explore, analyze, and communicate complex uncertainties in projects within our clients. The team in itself is just fantastic group to work with. They care about making sure that you get to use the most use out of the system, and we at PTAG have been able to train all our project controls team on it and now can provide detailed schedule analysis on all our projects. From the first time we spoke with Foresight about their product, we immediately saw the benefits it would provide. It's allowed us to increase our capabilities and capacity to provide our customers with more insightful results on their schedules. We've been able to identify problem areas within large schedules that are unwieldy and challenging to work with in P6 that other tools really haven't been able to identify. I personally believe it's surely one of the AI tools out there that's met the promise of AI, which is freeing up time from tedious tasks to allow us to focus on the important ones. Tom, over to you.
Amazing, Patrick. Thank you so much for that introduction. And what I would just caveat to say is that our tool is, the combination of technology and humans together. And the year that we've been working with PTAG has been brilliant to see the way that they have operated within the space. And people can build faster with AI, with technology. PTAG are the people often in these discussions, and so great to have that as an intro. As both Patrick and David said, I'm Tom Smedley. I'm Chief Revenue Officer here at Foresight. But I'm going to take you back a couple of steps as to how we really came about, because we have two individuals that are obviously very key to Foresight, being our founders. One of them is Igor Shifrin, who is our CEO and co-founder. And he actually previously, before Foresight, was delivering about 1 million square meters. And for those of you that work in square feet, that's about 11 million square feet of real estate around the globe, working in mixed use developments, industrial complexes, and many other spaces that you can imagine. And when he was delivering these projects, they would consistently come in both late and over budget. And he thought, is this just me, or actually is there a better way of doing it? Am I not very good at my job, or is actually this how the industry is? So he enrolled into Oxford University to do some further study. And in the process of being there, met Dr. Atif Ansar, our other co-founder and executive chairman, a professor and faculty lead at Oxford. Together, they got into talking about, well, what goes wrong in projects and what can we do about it? So we were founded out of Oxford University and are now grown to being a global company working literally in every single sector, and with some of the world's leading customers, including obviously PTAG, who have very kindly joined us on this call. The reason that we were founded was because Igor was going, well, I have an issue, but actually the industry standard or the industry data actually highlights this as well. We're very fortunate to have the world's largest data set of its kind. It's access to the Oxford-Stanford joint data set of about 16 to 17,000 major and mega projects around the globe in every single sector. And what we find is that Igor was not the only one. In fact, the industries around the world have the same issue of 9 out of 10 projects coming in both late and over budget. And the average cost overrun on these projects is about 40%, with the average schedule overrun being about 34%. Now, these numbers are not mutually exclusive. So they're both 40% on cost and 34% on schedule. What you'll also notice is as complexity in projects increases, as does that risk of cost overrun. And then if you ever have to deliver a project absolutely on time, like the Olympics, which of course you wouldn't want to deliver late or can't even deliver late, what you see is schedule acceleration and compression measures there really reflected in the cost. Because what we find time and time again is that time is money. Time overruns become the cost overruns. Projects that don't open on time don't generate revenues on time. But to speed up a project often takes exponentially more cost. And that's what we're looking to help avoid, working with the world's leading organizations in every single sector. Now, the reason why these projects are so difficult to deliver is this is actually a P6 schedule visualized. And what you can see here is all of those blue dots in the mass are your task-dependent activities, and all the blue dots in a line across the top are your milestones. And there are many things to take note of in this moment. One, the sheer complexity. It's massively complex. The other thing is that there's no linearity in this at all. And why I mention the linearity is because we often align ourselves to the critical path method, which is a very valid method to prioritize within a project. It was actually invented in the late 1950s when computers didn't exist and projects were probably a little less complex. One of the things that I'm going to show you in our platform is the ability to prioritize both a critical path, but actually every single activity in a schedule. So here, every single one of these blue dots has a relative degree of importance. We actually rate every activity from 0 to 1. 1 meaning this is an absolute showstopper. If this activity doesn't happen, the project will stop at this point. It will not continue. All the way down to 0 criticality. As I say, making sense of your critical path and being able to prioritize it, but also highlighting other activities that may have been missed off your critical path that are highly critical to your success of your project. There are a couple of other things to take note of here, which is that sheer complexity up front. So all those interlinkages and lines, the dependencies that these are drawing, so much of it is tied to this, to the start of a project. And what that means is there can be something called the butterfly effect that we see in projects, which means that a little flutter at the start of a project, a little fluctuation of one of the parts of the project at that point can have a massive knock-on effect further down the line that at the time it's happening is unseen. And that's something that our platform will be able to pull out and highlight for you as a potential risk. The other things you'll notice here is that there are many different items in this, many different dots, many different milestones and task-dependent activities. And all of them can have little fluctuations, which seemingly on their own would be unimportant. But when you combine them together, can kill a project. That we call death by 1,000 cuts. Each individual cut on its own isn't too bad. But when you combine them as a whole, they become very, very painful for projects, both in time and in money. And I keep mentioning time and money because, of course, when we look at the colloquial iron triangle of project management, what we know is in there is that we have scope, cost, and time. And traditionally, organizations spend a huge amount of energy and effort focusing on cost. There's massive fiduciary controls, internal audits, external audits. In fact, with one of our customers prior to using Foresight, they needed 15 different people to approve an invoice, which is obviously very time consuming and using a huge amount of manpower at that point. Never have we ever seen a chief time officer, but we see chief financial officers all the time. So our aim is not to detract anyone's focus away from cost or scope, but just give them the tools to focus a little bit more of their energy on time. And in doing so, help them generate the benefits, the revenues, the capabilities of their projects earlier. And the great thing about time is for those of you that are in the planning side of the business or the scheduling or project controls, you'll all know, in fact, all of you will know, that time is very neatly packaged in a machine readable document of usually Primavera P6 or MS Project. We also work with any other scheduling platform, but those are the main two, of course, for these kind of projects. Now, the great thing about this is that a human subject matter expert has spent a considerable amount of time, energy, and effort compiling and composing these documents. In fact, PTAG have a whole team of people in the planning and scheduling team that are exactly those human subject matter experts that spend this time generating these documents. And they are the single most important document of record for your project because they contain the list of aspirations, contractual commitments, durations, tasks, milestones, everything that you're looking to achieve out of a project. But there is a complication with that, which is unless you are one of these human subject matter experts, P6 or MS Project are not very simple, friendly tools to use. So they can produce these amazing schedules, but the data can sometimes become what we call dark data, data that's produced but not necessarily used by the whole project delivery team. Now, what we aim to do is to ingest that into our platform and immediately elevate anyone that is touching the project to being an expert in P6 without, of course, having to be an expert in P6, visualizing that schedule and understanding everything that is happening within it. But we go further. We create AI-powered insights and workflows. Patrick mentioned it earlier, the pair of glasses that can enable you to analyze and look into a historic schedule or a live project just as you want to and get all the insights out easily. We're here to reduce reporting time. We can increase collaboration, all through using this platform that takes this data and simplifies it for anyone that needs to. And I'm going to show you that shortly in our platform. Now, you have to forgive me slightly because we do have a professor as one of our founders. We see that our project, our value proposition is an equation as such. And what we see is that the project performance that you're looking to achieve is roughly a function of the planning multiplied by the execution. Meaning if you have terrible planning, but the best execution team in the world, you're going to have poor project performance. It's that sort of 0 multiplied by 100 is still 0 mindset. Flip side, the best plan, but you've never built something in your life, again, poor project performance. None of us have that. Of course, there's going to be good planning and good execution, or even great planning and great execution. But any increase, even just a 1% increase on either side of that equation is going to have a multiplicative effect on your entire project performance. But of course, there is that wraparound of risk. And so our platform is there to help you improve the quality of the planning, both at the creation of a plan, but also throughout execution, and maintain the plan throughout execution. Help the team execute upon that plan, all whilst understanding the risks that could be coming up. Not black swan risks, but the little death by 1,000 cuts risks that can creep up on you that come into a schedule. And we'll sit within companies' digital strategy by being descriptive as to what has happened, diagnostic as to why has it happened, comparative as in what else has happened within these projects that is similar. But then we get a step further, getting predictive, what's going to happen, and even more so prescriptive. What can I actually do about it? And how can I now shape the future of this project? So what I'm going to do is take us all into the platform for a few minutes, and I'm going to take us through a couple of those use cases that we would want to see. We're going to talk about potentially if you're a planner and how you might want to look at your schedule and understand the quality of it and maintain it throughout execution. We can talk about if I'm in execution, how do I know what I need to do and when? How do I prioritize, have my weeks look ahead and so on? If I'm looking at risk, what risks can we see within our platform as well? And then a couple of other use cases within it as well that we'll touch on of just how our platform can support all the various different stakeholders in the project team. After that, I'm going to pass back to Patrick, and then we're going to go into a Q&A session, and we'd love to answer any of your questions that you have. So the first thing I'm just going to highlight is that this is a demo page of our platform. All of our customers have their own domain. This one is demo.kc.works, but of course, PTAG have their own one, which is bespoke for themselves, giving access-based control where they can limit access to whichever parts of the platform they want to, and also open up whatever they would like to. You have complete control over who accesses what data within our platform. Now, I'm only able to share a couple of projects data that we have within the platform because we do have some confidential data from some of our now customers, but I won't be sharing any of that, of course, but I will be able to share a couple of the projects that we have. Now, what's great about our platform is that you can create any number of projects that you want to very easily. You can then create any number of levels of schedule within each project that you would like as well. So a master integrated schedule, a subcontractor schedules, a punch list of items, commissioning, whatever you would like. And to do or to add an additional schedule into our platform, all you need to do is click the upload file and immediately it pulls through. If I show you the other schedule file that I'm able to share, what it looks like as you go through the cadence of uploading, it will start to look like this. Now, one of the other things you'll notice is the speed in which this operates. With one of our customers, they upload schedules of over 70,000 line items, which takes them a long time to both save and access within Primavera. Within our platform, once it's uploaded, all of the algorithms have run and it's instantaneous navigation around it. So once you've uploaded it, we'll always give a project level status. Now, our project level status is both looking at the progress of a project, the risk of a project, and the quality of that schedule. This is where the human intelligence and machine intelligence comes together on quality. The human intelligence is looking at, well, what are we building in what order? The machine intelligence is looking at the DCMA standard checks and many others. What network have we got within there? What you wouldn't want to see over time is this gradual decline, which we often see in projects, because change is the name of the game in schedules. Things are going to be added and changed throughout execution, but we want to make sure that we don't let errors creep into it. So one of the things that our platform will do is create a logic quality checker and a logic quality report on every single upload of schedule. This can be kept just within the planning team or shared, or the person that's managing the schedule, or shared across the board. You can select which checks you would like to have on your quality checker. You don't have to have them all. You can literally make them completely bespoke for yourselves, and you can see how you're doing against any of them below. And you, of course, you can see the various ones that are DCMA standard checks, as well as non-DCMA standard checks. Within each one, I'm actually able to set my own criteria. So I could say that actually I'm okay with having 50% dangling logic. Now that is set for my project, set on my parameters, so I'm always measuring myself, rating myself against the same yardstick. And here we are okay. But once I've got myself able to check what I want to do, I also want to know how I can potentially resolve these issues. And so I can come into a list of the activities that are sitting within, in this example, dangling logic, and immediately see the most important ones first all the way down. I can, of course, organize this list by current start date, or as I've done, criticality score, critical path. The criticality score is that algorithm that is running there, letting you know how important each activity is between 0 and 1. The highest critical activity to fix currently is the demobilization of site officers' fence clearance of site area. It is also on the critical path. We are making sense of our critical path. You can see I've prioritized it. But also there are other activities that have fallen onto the critical path that are actually less critical than the items that aren't. So it's interjecting, it's splicing in all of the correct critical items in order of importance across the entire project, making it easier for me to fix the most important things in my schedule first. Going back to that example of a schedule that has 70,000 line items, when you look at the things that potentially are wrong in it, they could be massive lists. But if we can help you focus on the most important ones first, that is a big win. All of this gets put together into an AI recommendation on quality. We also do progress and risk, but just looking at quality right now. And we create a list of quality recommendations to improve the schedule upon every upload. In this example, you can see add detail to one activity that has an overly long duration. 17 activities are unresourced that are important to resource, and so on. I'll click into this one here. And here you can see that the system has detected 17 important unresourced activities due to finish in the next 3 months. I can collaborate and communicate with my team on it. If I at someone within it, it both notifies them within the platform and via email. I can assign this whole activity or grouping of activity to an individual in my team, asking them to fix it. And they can let me know that it's in progress. They could even add associated documents to this and of course see all of the activities that they need to resolve. Furthermore, we keep a track of an audit log throughout the entirety of the project of what has happened with all of these. Now, why that's interesting about these 17 unresourced activities is if I go back to my quality checker and I look at all unresourced activities, there are 643. So I am narrowing the planner's gaze onto the most important 17 for right now, rather than saying, hey, here are 643, go for it. By doing these recommendations, you'll have the biggest incremental increase on quality over the near future on your project. Very easy to manage, maintain the schedule quality throughout the execution of it. So touching on next parts is that we obviously do lots of things, which I'm not going to show you everything within the platform that we do. But one of the things I mentioned to you was the ability to visualize a schedule and elevate everyone to being an expert within P6 without having to be an expert in P6. Here you can see one of the 3 ways that we can visualize a schedule. We can obviously see it in a Gantt chart, but I don't need to show you that. It's tried and tested. We can see it in a list form, which is very traditional to what everyone is used to, like an Excel spreadsheet, which of course you can customize the amount of information you want on that list at any one point. Or we can do it as a lean planning Kanban system, which is very visual and easy for anyone to understand and see what's going on. This is currently showing the entire project that we have to focus on. Everything that I've got to do, and I've currently got nothing in progress, but I have done 25 things. Now, what it would be useful for me to know is, well, what do I have to do next? And the great thing about this is I can look at my urgent activities. So instead of looking at the whole project, I can focus on what is urgent over the next 7 days. And I've suddenly got it down to 47 activities. Furthermore, I could see which ones of these are important. Now, this is where our algorithm is running in the background, working out which ones have got the highest propensity to delay or cause problems to your project versus those that don't. And here I've gone from 46 to 15 activities to focus on right now. And then if I was to then look at, well, which ones of those are on the critical path, I can see that I've gone down to 7. So I've got 7 items to do that are on the critical path, but that is missing a further 8 activities that aren't on the critical path, but are very important to the success of my project. And then, of course, I could just look at everything as a list. Every single activity within your P6 or your MS project or whichever scheduling platform you have gets its own activity card created. This is a total visualization of P6 extrapolated out for your ease. It shows everything that you need to know and more. It highlights your activity ID, name, obviously, where it sits within a WBS, its start date, if it's glowing red, we've missed it, its end date, its duration, its float, its submitted completion, any warning indicators, including a critical path symbol, a delay driver symbol, and it's set back. And of course, we verbalize it here. Furthermore, I can assign, collaborate, communicate within this here, or get the AI helper to help write content of what I should be doing with this. I can add associated documents, proof of completion, a punch list of items that need to be done, whatever you would like within this. I can see its constraints. And of course, as before, I can assign this to a person or a team. Of course, we can also create customizable tags so that I can tag this, and this one has been tagged as a blocker, and I'll show you that a little later. Of course, I can see whether it's on the critical path, what its criticality score is and why it has it. It's got a high risk of delaying succeeding activities. I can see this isn't resourced. I can see and navigate to its predecessors, its successors, and see their completion status. I can also see where it sits from a WBS perspective, what's happened to this activity, and this will track throughout the project, and of course see any associated activities. These are those AI recommendations, and it's showing that it's on the allocate resources for 17 unresourced activities. It is therefore very easy to share, communicate, collaborate on what we have to do within the project. These filters up here are customizable in any way that you want to get down to what you need to see. I could, in fact, just look at a particular point in time. I could go back to the 31st of May, which I think is when the first activity has to happen, and I can see every activity that was due to start that day. But not only due to start, but in order of importance. So I had 17 things to do on the 31st of May. The most important one was add mixtures, supplementary cement materials. Then it's submittals, and so on. This one is on the critical path, but these ones aren't. But then funnily enough, this one is, and then these ones aren't, and this one is. So anti-termite is on the critical path, but is actually less important to the success of the project than this drawing submittal. Now, we actually interrogated this schedule with the company that put it together. And one of the things they let us know is that once they saw this and they reviewed the schedule, they realized if this drawing submittal did not go in, the entire project would have been pushed out exponentially, because it shows that it has an 18-day duration, but 61 days of float. But as you navigate down from this point in time, if you used up any of that float, the entire project would have been pushed. Now, I can also show you other things, which is we can move these around, which then will be enable your teams to potentially actualize P6 and have a two-way flow. Otherwise, this is siloed in its own environment so that you can't break the schedule. There is no risk to the integrity of your schedule. And of course, we could insert, as I mentioned, in any way, shape or form that you want to create your customized reports. Very easy to say, well, I'm in the site team. I want to see what I've got to do today, this week, my look aheads, and produce it for your scrums, your stand-ups, and so on. We also will help direct to a particular milestone or activity point in time. You can create a fragnet, as we call it, an activity fragnet to a point in time, and see what activities are blocking my progress. And here they are, listed out, that I need to resolve before I can get towards this milestone. I can obviously also see any delayed activities and on-schedule ones. And as before, I can click this and take it straight back and see them all here, or of course, as a list. Everything I'm showing you is able to be pre-saved as reports and produced on every single cadence of upload, or produced even in between uploads of I need to know what I'm doing today, I need to know what I need to do next Monday, and so on. We can help in any way, shape or form from that perspective. We'll also be able to let you know how that schedule is changing, both as a project level, but also as an activity level from any 2 months, this month versus last month, baseline versus latest, or how a particular activity has changed, a milestone, an activity code, or a WBS has changed over any points in time. Again, creating change analysis reports, monitoring and de-risking your projects from that perspective. What I'm going to do now is take you into a couple of the risks that could come up within a project, the risks that we'll be able to avoid or help avoid through using Foresight. Because what we've helped to do is highlight, well, we've got a really good quality schedule and we're maintaining it throughout execution, and we know what we need to execute on without having to go back to a scheduler. We can produce our stand-ups ready to go, our weekly look aheads and our last week missed activities reports and everything that we want from that perspective. The next thing is knowing, well, where's the risk sitting within the project? And this is where we can really support. We can see from a risk density any month of your project. So we can, just going to let in these people, or hopefully David's letting them in. We can see how intense any month is going to be. And you can overlay this with vacation times, weather conditions, anything that you want to, and understand that probably April 2024 would be a bad month to be doing any of that, whereas November and December were pretty quiet, so we could potentially do that. You can divide this up by activity, by even tags, by activity codes or WBSs, of course, as well. And below then you are producing a list of all of the activities in order of criticality. This activity of shutdown and power on is an activity, a criticality of number 1, meaning if it doesn't happen, the project will not continue beyond that point. To give you an idea of how the criticality score is calculated, if you think about a traffic network in a city that has a river running through it, and you need to get from one side of the city to the other, there are various different pathways to go. But you might have a bridge in the middle over the river. If that bridge gets blocked, you cannot continue the project. That would be a criticality score of 1. All of the rest of the scoring is then based on their journey that you're going to be taking through. If you think about major cities where you have a big junction in the middle of it with lots of traffic flowing in and lots of traffic flowing out that are really integral to the success of your project, they're going to be very high. If, however, it's that junction on the periphery in the suburbs of a town where it's just a simple turn right or turn left, or even go straight, that's going to be very low and it's not going to affect your project. But not only do we highlight your entire project of what you've got to do or is in progress or done, but I can look into any month and see what I'm going to have in the month of February going on in order of importance, and also highlighting any that are glowing that they are delay drivers. Very easy to see those kind of risks. And the last one that I'm going to talk about is called reference class forecasting. This project hasn't had very many things actualized on it, so I'm going to jump onto a different project and I'm going to take us back in time to maybe October. What you can see down here is duration overrun risks. Now, reference class forecasting is based on a Nobel Prize winning economics concept. They actually won the prize in 2002 on the idea that humans are not perfect at forecasting time, and we have optimism bias. So if I said to you all right now, I'm just going to go get a coffee, I'll be 5 minutes. And I go off and I come back, but I come back in 10 minutes. It's like, okay, say la vie, but I have wasted all of your time a little bit. If I did it again tomorrow and I said, I'm going to just get a coffee, I'll be 5 minutes. But again, I come back in 10. And then again on Friday, I do the same thing, 5 minutes, but come back in 10. By Monday next week, when I say, everyone, I'm just going to get a coffee, I'll be 5 minutes. You'd all turn around and go, no, you won't, Tom. You're going to take 10. Because I've shown my propensity to overrun is double. 5 minutes becomes 10. If I'm going to a coffee shop that's further away, I might say I'm going to be 15 minutes, but come back in 30. Again, my propensity to overrun is 2 times. Now, what we do is we pull out, using natural language processing, every like-for-like cluster of activities and let you know what your propensity to overrun and underrun on them are. And we highlight that as you're executing on a project to enable you to potentially direct more resources or rework your schedule or have a scrum room meeting about it to potentially reduce those overrun risks. Here you can see that controls installations has an overrun risk at this point in time of 60 days forecasted. Massive overrun risk. But what I might also want to know is which ones of these have got the highest criticality to the success of my project. And actually, if I do that, I see that these ones here are really important to the success of my project and have a 7-day forecasted overrun. So I'm going to have a conversation with the pool term test conducting team, or provide extra resources to it, or whatever I need to help avoid these issues. And we show all of this in our duration forecast section of our project, again, looking at the various different things pulled together here. And if I was to go back to that month in October, you can see the controls installations are the highest risk, with none of them being delivered on time so far, and all of them having a high propensity to overrun. On the flip side, I can start to see potential ones that have an underrun. Like, let's have a look at this one. Lift set MER in place. This activity had a planned duration of 5 days, but was being completed in 0 at a P50 and 1 at a P80. I can find time within my schedule going forward. Everything that I'm showing you can be rolled up at a portfolio level as well, across an entire or every single project that you have. Unfortunately, I can't show you the project scorecards on that because there is confidential data there, but you're able to see everything that you'd need to see across the board. And of course, we show as I mentioned, Gantt charts and anything else that you would like to, every that you would like to see from a project perspective. Everything that I've shown you is able to be added to customizable pin boards with all of the information preset, so that you can have your weekly reports, monthly reports preset to go out as you need them. There are many other things that I'd love to show you, but what I thought I could do now is pass back to Patrick, and he can put some flesh on the bones of potentially of how they've been using Foresight. And then we'd love to answer any questions that people have for either of us.
Great, thanks, Tom. That was an excellent demonstration of the system. Oftentimes, we PTAG, we find ourselves in front of clients that have a crisis or chaos project. They started their project with their typical governance and stage gate reviews, and they went into execution with the best intentions. And they found out that the schedule that they felt really confident in has drifted. And now they have a schedule and a project that has too many constraints, too many open ends, too many activities with no float. Their critical path has shifted drastically from baseline. And now the project is in jeopardy of missing that end date. Just like your slide at the start of your presentation about the different industries, how many miss on schedule, how many miss on cost. We see projects that do that all the time. They're already forecasting in the middle of the project that they're going to miss. They know that they're going to miss. Now they shift, how do we fix it? That's usually where PTAG gets involved. We find this happens often with projects because they become so focused on executing the work and not maintaining control of their schedule, maintaining control on those delay drivers. They're only focused on that critical path. I'm not saying critical path is wrong or bad. It's actually a really excellent tool, but it's not the only tool available to us now. We were called in last year to do a forensic analysis of a project to help determine when and where the project started to derail. We spent several weeks interviewing project teams, reviewing the data, reviewing risk registers, and we didn't spend that much time reviewing the schedule because we use Foresight. We used the tool to help identify where the delays occurred. We used it to help identify the associated costs to those delays and highlight the areas of concern for the customer. We were able to extract this out of Foresight using 17 revisions of that schedule in less time than we've done in previous analysis projects for us. It rapidly sped up our ability to stay in and speak with people. Like Tom mentioned, it's systems plus the analysis plus the people. You know, computer systems do what you tell them to do, and that's about it. But you need that expert. You need that individual to speak to. Schedules are very much like that. They only show you the information that's been inputted. You miss out on the context of what's happened on that project. Unless you spend time talking to the people who actually executed that project, you don't actually know the delay drivers. What Foresight allowed us to do was pick up on the areas of concern, pick up on those activities that may look strange because, how is demobilization a delay driver? Well, when you actually start asking the questions to the project team, it allows you to find out how that actually is the delay driver. Coming up, we're actually planning on using Foresight on the next unit of a 8-unit series of hydroelectric refurbishment project. This project is a collaborative project. We've been working on it for quite some time. There's 5 companies involved. They've all partnered with each other, and they've all committed to do what's best for the project. We've already done 2 projects with this team, and we've had 2 project schedules worth of experience where we know what to expect from execution. So we have high confidence in what's going to go on. But something's changed on project 3 to our execution plan. We had a labor reassignment, and now we need to re-examine our schedule. So we have 2 projects worth of experience, but now we need to come back to our schedule and relook at it and relook how we execute and make sure that we don't miss. And we plan on using Foresight to help us do that. Tom talked about the quality metrics of the schedule analysis. We plan on using that to help make sure that just the mechanics of the schedule are there. We plan on using it during execution to focus on tasks that are important and urgent, that are not on the critical path, but can creep up and surprise you. And then we also plan on using it to maintain focus on making sure that we hit our project end date. And we really just want to get as much information out of those project schedules as possible. So there's a couple of examples of where we've used it and where we plan on using it. Like I mentioned in the start of the meeting, we've trained all our project controls team on how to use it, when to bring it in, when to engage Foresight team, to even be a part of our own project execution team. They're really great, and we love working with them. And I think it's a great time to jump over to the Q&A. I saw a bunch of questions come in while Tom was talking. So
sure are. Thanks, Patrick, and thank you for the support, for the insights as well of how you use it. It's always great to hear that.
Yeah, thanks for the demo, Tom, and for your insights, Patrick. Definitely a bunch of questions coming in both the QA and the chat. So why don't I kick some off? The first one that came in is, how is the criticality calculated? Can it be overridden?
It's great question. So the criticality can't be overwritten because there is a sort of a degree of criticality to everything. If we go back to that mindset of the traffic network, if you consider it like a traffic network of cities, imagine that Foresight has flown over every single global city in the world except your one. And whilst it was flowing over them, it's understood how many people are there, what the public transport system's like, how many people own cars, how many people walk or cycle, what time of day they're going to be leaving, where they live, where they work. And it's then worked out the entirety of that network to where there are potential issues and places that can go wrong. And if they go wrong, if there's a blockage or a delay or a traffic light goes out, what that's going to do to the entire road network. And then it works out a prioritization of importance. And often what gets pulled up is things that people miss. One of our customers, as an example, they are now a customer, but they weren't previously, was doing a tunneling job where they had to have an environmental approval done. This approval was a 180-day duration activity with 180 days of float. But as it neared, they hadn't got it done because it hadn't been on anyone's radar that they needed to. Of course, the time came that they needed that environmental approval and they submitted it, but things in that jurisdiction take time and they didn't get it back in time because they left it a little too late. It meant the entire site team had to shut down for 2 weeks, costing millions of dollars. They were spending about $2 million a day, so roughly $10 million of costs as a result of not putting in the approval. Our algorithm would have been flagging this and highlighting this and waving flags and doing everything that it can to say you need to get this approval in, or else your project is going to grind to a halt at this point in time. So it uses the ML and the AI of learning from all of these other projects to now be able to look at yours in its silo, in its own sense, having never seen it before, but understanding what is critical and what isn't. And that is irrelevant to float.
Great.
Hopefully that, yeah.
So I think someone may have gotten onto the webinar because we did talk about this early on. And the question is, does your system run alongside P6, or do you propose to transfer the schedule data from P6 onto your system going forward? So
absolutely. So we from P6, you'll still always use P6 or MS Project or any of the other scheduling platforms that exist out there to create and manage and maintain that single document of record. You can then upload or have a pull push from there into Foresight to give you the analytics, the layer of intelligence, the simplification of all of that. So it is separate. And the other thing is that most of our customers don't have P6 licenses for their entire project team. They may have 1 or 2 or 3. What we find with us is that the entire project team is in our platform, communicating and collaborating. There is near enough no limit to the number of users you can have in one project in our platform, sharing and analyzing and so on.
Great. Another question is, what is the sweet spot in project size? For example, the number of tasks, total duration to use with Foresight.
That's a really great question. Look, you're going to get more value the more complex the project is, but we do have schedules that are 80 line items, and we have those that are 70,000. In fact, the largest schedule that we've ever had in the project, if you were to have integrated it all together, was about 1.2 million lines. But what I would say, I think our average schedule size in the platform is about 800 lines, to give you an idea. Duration wise, we get used for STOs where, you know, it's time is really money. And of course, a day over on a nuclear outage is millions of dollars of spend and millions of dollars of lost revenue. So that could be for 21 days from a project duration. We have others that are multi-year duration projects. Just depends.
Right. Another question about the P6 schedule, which is I think an easy one. Is there a template that one needs to use to structure the schedule in P6 for successful implementation?
Absolutely not. That's one of the great things about Foresight is that you don't need to change any of your processes whatsoever. You continue to maintain and manage schedules as you would do what it would have done before. This is to give you that support and analytics on top of it. To give you an idea, there is no such thing as a perfect schedule. You don't have to resource load a schedule for it to be successful. There can be errors in it. There always are going to be. So that's not a problem. It's here to help elevate even just by that 1%, as I mentioned in the earlier slides.
Great. Question about how is risk density calculated?
That's a really great question. So that is based on the amount of activities and also the criticality of activities. So if you have 1 month where you have 3 activities that are very low importance for the success of your project, either kicking off or running or resourced, it's going to be very low from a risk density. If you have another month that has 100 high risk near 1 activities kicking off, it's going to be a high risk month where everything is going to be all hands as such. So that's how, in a sense, it's calculated. It's what do I have to do in the timeline that we're having it. Parts of the stuff that I didn't show you was we create auto-generated S-curves based on criticality, you know, of many other parts of the reporting of how the project is going along. But what I was trying to focus on here is more the how planning and how do we approve the execution rather than how do we just report on the planning and the execution.
Yep. Yeah, so there were a bunch of questions that I'm going to try and summarize about reference class forecasting.
Yeah.
Where are the reference class forecasting values from, and how many reference class forecasting categories are there?
Two good questions. So there are unlimited categories. We can be as defined or as broad as you would like. We work on natural language processing, so you can cluster like-for-like activities together. So dig a trench, excavate a ditch, two things that are very similar in their task but get called different things. Also, it's multilingual and will make up for spelling mistakes within P6, so no issues there. We can cluster like-for-like activities together. We could also just go design, procurement, whatever you would like. And then the values are from your data. Alternatively, we do have a data set that people are able to access. But on the whole, we keep each individual organization's data together. And we can upload historic projects to let you know your historic performance on projects to help put together a better schedule going forwards. So using controls installation, which I think was one of the activities that I mentioned, if you're building a data center, every single room is going to have controls installation needing to be performed within it. It's a repeatable task, and it's going to be on your next data center. If you're always running over, you might want to allow yourself more time on the next project. Flip side, set MER in place, I think was the one that I clicked, was running under. We could potentially see if we can find some time. But even if you've never had an issue with controls installation in the past, we will flag it should one crop up in your current project and highlight it and enable you to do something about it.
Great. This question might be better from Patrick's viewpoint. How long does it take to get set up with Foresight, and what is the onboarding process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. To get set up doesn't actually take long. Tom didn't show this, but uploading a schedule into Foresight is really quick and easy. The team, the customer service team at Foresight is just a lovely team. They're great to work with. They're highly responsive, highly engaged, and they do an excellent onboarding where they don't bombard you with a whole bunch of information. They break it down. They focus on what you're interested in and making sure that they're covering the whole application, the whole system, but really focusing on what's important to you. So it's quick, it's they're really great at listening to what you're doing. They're really focused on making sure that you do start using the tool, not, purchase it, use it once and forget about it. That happens all the time with project systems. Project is really keen on a piece of software, but then forgets about it on the next project. They're great. And yeah, using the system is straightforward. It's really intuitive. Clean dashboards, you're not really going to get too bogged down on detailed configuration screens.
Great, right. Thanks, Patrick. There are some more questions, but I want to be respectful of people's time. Let's just get one more question.
I can read I think Eugene's asked two more, which I can answer if that works. One of them is just asking, is there a way to set the various different levels of scheduling to split them out and to understand their individual critical paths? Absolutely. You can have as many levels of schedule as you would like from that perspective. And you can have longest path or any other kind of critical path calculation. The criticality score, though, will run alongside each one in each individual silo and then across the whole lot if you integrate it. And within the US, there are different naming conventions for results and activities, abbreviations understood by the planning team that will all pull through with no issue whatsoever within your organization and across multi sort of lingual or multi classed groupings. It works that out for you and supports you in that. So yeah.
Great. Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Patrick. If there are any questions that we didn't answer, I know there were a few, We will have our customer service people get back to you, our account people get back to you. But I just wanted to thank everyone for coming today. I hope it's been valuable for you. Thanks for all your questions. Feel free to go to our website or PTAG's website to schedule some more time for a custom demo. And I just, thank you for attending, and everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone, for coming.
everybody. Take care.
Cheers.